Hello, friends. This is John Klein III, episode 191 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, your premier Kitty Pryde and Lockheed and Magic podcast. Today, we're going to review Exceptional X-Men 12, House of X #1, and the rest of the comics that came out last week. So let's get into it. Exceptional X-Men 12, my comic of the week by far. Writers Evel Ewing, artist is Federicia Manson. Color artist Nolan Woodward, letter VC's Travis Lantham. The issue opens up with Reginald James McNair III, which I like. Not enough of us thirds in the world. We first met him back in issue 4, famously the issue where the students learn Kitty Pryde has murdered people, and also Kitty was still not talking to Rogue. Reggie can create portals, space and time portals. One might even call them rifts, as he's clearly the rift from Expatriate X-Men as part of the Age of Revelation series. Reggie can't break the fourth wall, which we're told in a fun fourth wall breaking caption. Poor Reggie believes he killed Kitty Pryde, even though he's not sure who that is. Not too far away, we see the students holding their own against Omega Mutant Iceman. Bronze gets the win as she tags Iceman. Bobby is pitch hitting as Kitty stormed off last issue. Bobby calls Nina. They hung out in issue 4, which was a really big issue. Bobby has a very awkward phone call with Nina as he would not be able to bother calling someone if Kitty had only been missing for an hour. I wonder if Bobby's favorite umbrella is yellow. Ironheart brings Reggie through an open window, so it's not breaking, entering. Melee's about to say Reggie is Bronze's crush, but in a sweet recovery, she is an athlete after all. Calls Trisha's creative friend, so it goes like creative friend, and like Melee just covers her face in embarrassment. Reggie and Trista now have being mutants in common along with Theater. Ironheart states that Kitty went through one of the rifts. Emma, being a great mentor, immediately figures out that Reggie's rift powers work. They even form around his forearms. Emma refers to him as Reginald, as she's a classy dame. Emma refers to his rifts as swirls and their place time portals. His blackouts are minor bursts of time travel. Iceman volunteers to go back in time to rescue Kitty, but Emma squashes that as Bobby and Emma are important to Kitty's future, which I don't think Bobby and Kitty have that much time spent together outside the Ultimate Universe in this series. Well, besides when they briefly dated, but not real history before that. I'm trying to remember all the times before. They were in a big battle in ROM 65. Young Iceman was involved in Excalibur XX crossing. Present day Bobby never appears in Excalibur properly. He stands right next to Kitty during Ileana's funeral in Uncanny X-Men 303. They're around each other during Scott and Jean's wedding in X-Men Volume 230. So it really is fun that they get romantically paired together, which I was a fan of that relationship, as it gave Kitty a chance to have fun. Setting up the Star-Lord and Kitty's relationship, Star-Cat, as those fans like to call it, now that I think of it. Once it's established that students are going back in time, and to be fair, now that they fought Mr. Sinister, they are officially X-Men, but it's easier to distinguish them as the students. Bronze runs off to grab some early 80s clothes. She doesn't grab any for Ironheart, who can't go on the mission but would have liked the invite. Emma encourages Reggie to create a riff, and the students are back, going back in time after Bobby tries to warn them about the changing times. As soon as the students are gone, Sentinel dogs barge through the wall, so that isn't great for Petrie's dance studio. Hopefully, she got mutant insurance. Reggie closes the rift, but not before a Sentinel dog goes through the portal, so expect that to pay off later. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Deerfield, Illinois, the students land back in time and not graciously. Melee makes a great comment about how Kitty Pryde clearly came from money, but yet doesn't have access to that money now, probably due to the questionable career choices. There's just no money in being an X-Man. They wondered how they're going to find Kitty about the internet or just asking people. Bronze offers the phone book as an option, but Melee doesn't even know what that is. Which I can't remember the last time we even got one of those slim yellow pages in the on our doorstep, but it's been a while. Issue ends with Uncanny X-Men's 129 Kitty Pryde in her all black outfit and yellow sweater around her hips. Our team found Kitty, the wrong Kitty. It's such a great issue. Also, I got my 10th letter published in it, which is highly exciting for me. Chris Wildrick and I had to write in to show our appreciation for Lockheed returning. Though the two issues in a row now, we haven't seen or heard of Lockheed. Hopefully, he's not a clone created by Sinister to spy on Kitty, but hopefully he's just safe and in her apartment, maybe chasing Petrie's dog around. Dog name escaping me right now. So that was Exceptional X-Men 12. So let's get into House of X1. There wasn't that many issues to spotlight, and so I was like, well, let's get back into retro comics. Humans of the Oh yeah, this came out. Let's see. Did they not publish the I mean, I know it was 5 years ago, right? Oh, here we go. September 2019. Jonathan Hickman's the writer. Pepe Larraz the artist. Marte Garcia is color artist. VC's Clayton Cowles is letterer. Tom Muir is the designer. And I'm pretty sure I got the Pepe Larraz cover, even though there was a bunch of them. Uh, and so we open up with a great data page. Professor Xavier's famous quote, "Humans are the planet Earth. While you slept, the world changed." And we see all these X-Men waking, hatching out of an egg. And you can follow along on my YouTube and TikTok channels at Jackal SII and get the famous Xavier saying to me, my X-Men. And then we get 5 months ago, Krakoa, and Colossus is picking a flower. 4 months ago, Westchester, and we see Storm bringing a flower to the mansion. 3 months ago, the blue area of the moon, and maybe Emma's hands. They look like no, I'm sorry, they're Nightcrawler hands because there's clearly only three fingers, like a Ninja Turtle or the Vulcan, I suppose. And he's planting one of the flower bases. 2 months ago, Mars, and we see Armor is planting a flower. 1 month ago, the Savage Land, and we see Beast is looking at one of the flowers um growing. And I sort of like the way the page is shown where you see Colossus picking a flower, Storm carrying one, Nightcrawler about to put one in the ground, Armor putting one in the ground, Beast seeing it sprout. And then we get my favorite panel, Kitty Pryde and Lockheed in Washington, D.C. Which I don't know why they're in Washington, D.C., like why that's picked. I guess to show an important location with a easy identified structure. But why Kitty Pryde? Why Washington, D.C.? Um, I like to think it's because Kitty and Stevie Hunter, or she's visiting Stevie Hunter, Congresswoman Stevie Hunter, excuse me. And so she's there. I also like how this is the last time we're going to see Kitty Pryde. Like next time we see her, she'll be Kate Pryde and as a pirate. And this is her last, bob hairstyle and black and yellow suit. So, and I like how we see the back of her from here. So it's like, this is the past, and we will eventually follow through with her to the present. 2 weeks ago, we see one of the cuckoos, I like to think it's Mindy, planting another flower, the Jerusalem habitat. And we see a bunch of, oh yeah, now, and we see a bunch of flat scan government liaisons who are weary of cocoa, but clearly the medicines to cure humanity or assist humanity are, meant to sway them. And then we see Ambassador Magneto hanging out with the cuckoos, Mindy and Esme. No, I'm sorry, Esme and Sophie, which I forget which one. It's fun. It's those two because those are the ones that died early. The flowers are Krakoa. The mutant island of Krakoa is not just the home of mutants and the seat of their nation state. It is also the only known producer of the primary economic resource of the mutant nation, the flowers of Krakoa. And it's for humans, it's human drug L, delivery mechanism, fabricated synthesized pill, This flower produces a drug that extends the life of a human for 5 years. Human drug I, delivery mechanism, fabricated synthesized pill. This flower produces an adaptive universal antibiotic, a super drug for humans. Human drug M, delivery mechanism, fabricated synthesized pill. This flower produces a drug that cures diseases in the minds of humans. Gate and for mutants, gateways, delivery mechanism flower. This flower grows a gateway, a pathway from where one is planted to its twin gateway on cocoa. Habitat, delivery mechanism flower. This flower produces a habitat. A habitat's a self-sustaining environment, a biome that is part of the interconnected consciousness of cocoa. No space, delivery mechanism flower. This non-natural occurring flower produces a habitat that exists outside the collective conscious of cocoa, a place within the island ecosystem that cocoa doesn't know exists, a cocoan tumor, which is like, all right. The Gray Malkin habitat in Westchester, New York. And we see Gene inviting a bunch of students through the gate. And then we see Sage and Doug Ramsey with a warlock arm talking about what he's done in just this last week, where he created an entire system to manage the traffic of the Cocoa network from scratch. And instead of being run on, it's run on light instead of electricity. And then we see our first Cocoan gate as Gene and the student walks through it. They see Professor X and a hairy guy. When Gene's like, well, that hairy guy is Logan. So that's fun. We see the map of Krakoa with a legend, which I do love a map and a legend. So we have House of X, House of M, awkwardly just two people. But I don't know what House of X is then. It'd just be Xavier. Arbor Magna, Arena, Acadomus Habitat, the Transit, the Oracle, the Grove, the Cradle, the Reservoir, the Wild Hunt, and the Carousel. I want to say the Quiet Council meets at the Grove, right? Or is the Grove where the Green Lagoon is? I'm not sure. And then we see Orcus's Space Base, and we're introduced to um the head of engineering, Zala Grady, military commander, Colonel Walken Kin, and science command, Aliyah Gregor. And they all work under director Dr. Killian Devil. And they also have a base supported by a Sentinel Celestial Head, I believe it is. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's Master Mode. Clearly it's Master Mode. And so we get the Orcus Protocol, and they're made up of 31% aim, 24% shield, 16% strike, 8% sword, 7% alpha flight, 5% hammer, 5% armor, and 4% Hydra. Oh, and they have a machine liaison in Carmina Chapanar, otherwise known as Omega Sentinel. And then we see Damage Control, Contested Storage Facility, and Sabretooth, Mystique, and Toad are there. All different members of different eras of Brotherhood. Well, actually, I guess Sabretooth's more of a Marauder. And then Mystique had her Brotherhood and Freedom Force. And then Toad, of course, this classic Brotherhood member. And they're running away right when the Fantastic Four show up, or at least Ben and Johnny. And we learned about Damage Control, which takes care, it was a facility made up almost exclusively of events mechanics and disassembled material created by either Reed Richards or Tony Stark. And then we see we're back to the tour of Krakoa, which is just fun to see different characters and backgrounds. We see the Zorn siblings. I'm trying to think, is there any other known people around? And then oh yeah, and Magnetos is very impressed as he should be with Krakoa, and some of the flat scans are concerned about the military implications of just being able to teleport an army everywhere they go. We're back to the villains of the issue, if you will, and Sabretooth tries to go through the portal, or the gate, I'm sorry. And we find Sue and Reed have showed up, the Richards. And then Cyclops shows up in a boss move, and he's very excited. Sue, for whatever reason, like putting a hip out, just trying to look welcoming, Cocoa welcoming, if you will. And so Cyclops explains how there's mutant amnesty, but clearly this is a new crime, so Reed thinks they should take Sabretooth, which I like. Cyclops has a whole moment where he's like, fine, you have him. And then Cyclops gives a boss line of, my family has spent our entire lives being hunted and hated. The world has told me that I was less when I knew I was more. Do you honestly think we were going to sit around forever and just take it? And it's like, oh, Cyclops. And Sue, with her sad face, is like, of course not, but. And it's like, yeah, like, it's very simple, Susan. I believe in what Xavier is doing. Please greet your son for me. Tell him that when he's ready, he has a family of Coca-Cola waiting for him. That's pretty cool. Then we get the list of Omega Mutants, which are um Jamie Braddock, Iceman, Elixir, Marvel Girl, Legion, David Haller, Magneto, Proteus, Mr. M from the 198 era, Storm, Exodus, Kid Omega, Franklin Richards, who's going by Powerhouse, which I don't recognize the name. And his name's in red because his alliance is with humans, Vulcan, and Hope. And then we get a Krakoan habitat, Jerusalem. Magneto asks a great question about what have we learned today, which is pretty fun. And then Esme or Sophie describes everything about how all these ambassadors are not who they say they are, but some of them are convinced that Krakoa works, but some still have their misgivings. And then one of them brought a gun for his own protection, which was foolish, as what's a gun gonna do against even Magneto? Or just bulletproof suits that they all wear. And the issue ends on another legendary line of Magneto saying, "You have new gods now." And then a data page. I have a new world for the lexicon of man, Cocoa. In the future, when you speak it, make sure you do softly and with proper deference, for we will be listening. And then we get the reading order, which some Blue Sky friends were nice enough to, because I was like, why is House of X2, House of X5, and Powers of X6 in red? Like they're all crucial issues, but these were like the ones you do not want to miss. And that, everyone, is House of X1. And then other comics came out. Psylocke 10 was my second favorite book. It's the final issue of Psylocke, which is unfortunate. But she saves her friend Mikiso. I think that was the name. And she's no longer white Psylocke. She's back to her purples and blacks, so that was nice. And Grey Crow and her are still together. Her tech gal and the chairs are still friends, and we're just wrapping up the series as Age of Revelation's coming. And Marvel contracts apparently are now 5 issues at a time, so you get 5 issues, and then they find out if you get another five, and then usually by issue 6 or 7 or 8, I'm sure they're like, "Well, you're not getting five more. I'm sorry." And then, but yeah, I really like this. I really like how, like Magic, it's going to be just one complete story told in 10 issues. And then we got Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe 2, which no X-Men, if I remember correctly, but Doctor Strange throws Godzilla into a dimension, which is weird because next issue is the X-Men issue. So I got that one pre-ordered. Hopefully Kitty Pryde or Magic or both are in it. I would love that. Or even just a little Lockheed panel where he's like shooting at him because he does have experience fighting giant green reptiles. And then we get Marvel All on One, which did have some X-Men, but no Kitty or Magic. And the thing is just splash page after splash page. And when it's not a splash page, it's a double splash page. And he's just fighting robots in the shape of his hero friends. And then Wolverine 12 turns out Mastermind, and spoilers for all the books of last week. Um, but it turns out it was Mastermind the entire time. So when I saw it was Sabretooth and it was like, I'm out of this. But then there wasn't that many books last week, so I was like, well, I'll read Wolverine 12. And yeah, it pretty solid story. Did he kill Mastermind at the end? Probably not. But he feels like he at least stabbed him, and so that's a win. And then they're done. So yeah. So Exceptional X-Men 12, the issue of the week. The next week we have Wolverine Kitty Pride 5, the conclusion. Will Ziggy and Kitty switch bodies? I don't know. Then we have X-Men 21, which I believe is setting the last issue before Age of Revelations, but it's Magic versus Trevor Fitzroy 2. So we'll see how that wraps up. X-Men Tooth and Claw, which prints the Astonishing X-Men digital comic, which I'm supporting as one day hopefully we get the lovable Lockheed digital comic. And Magic's in the final two issues, if I remember correctly, so it's definitely a lock for me. Jeff the Landshark 3 has Wolverine and Psylocke on the cover, so we'll see if and Magic's in issue 5, so maybe in issue 3 as well. Um, but time will tell. Well, not just time, but Wednesday will tell. And then we have Emma Frost, the White Queen 3, the halfway point of her miniseries. We'll see if she figures out if Sage is the mole, and then if Emma's been an ally longer than we think she has been. And then Deadpool Wolverine 8 comes out, as does Phoenix 14. And if you're Firestar inclined, West Coast Avengers 10, which I've noped out of that series a while, ago. But yeah. So everyone, that was episode 191 of Shadow and Flame of Magic. Thank you so much for watching or listening if you're our podcast listeners or watching on YouTube. And you can follow me at Jacko SII on most social media. I'm going to post the cover and that Kitty Pride panel on the podcast socials at S&FwM on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And um, thank you so much, and I will talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Bye.